Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Lakers win tonight in Boston, beating our rivals. It's your boy Devon Johnson here with the Showtime Forum post-game show. And my goodness, what a way to cap off a Saturday night after two losses on the road, games that we should have won. It almost happened to us again. We almost went home with an L for the third time on this trip. And the Lakers were able to pull it out 96-95 against the Boston Celtics, who played a heck of a game. And plenty to talk about, of course, tonight. It'll be me solo dolo tonight. I can't wait to get to your guys' comments. So much we got to talk about. I'm so interested to see what people think about the game. And, of course, to talk about some of the things that we need to improve going into Atlanta to finish off this trip. Listen, let's start with the good stuff that we saw tonight. The first thing that we saw was a win, and this is what's so important about this win. Of course, the Lakers don't want to have back-to-back losses. That has been the mantra since last season. It happened, and it happened for the first time, and if I'm being honest, it probably won't be the last time. But what was good was the way they responded. They bounced back. This is a very long road trip, okay? This is longer than normal. Boston's getting ready to go to the West Coast and do a 5-game trip, but the Lakers have been on the road for quite some time. And for them to be able to get in there and do what they had to do tonight, it was very good. Now, if you notice the score, 96-95, sub 100 games really tend to skew towards Frank Vogel's favor as a defensive-minded coach. Tonight, up and down moments of defense, very, very lax third quarter, which is ultimately what made this game as close as it was that lack of momentum, lack of zeal, really lack of just energy on the defensive and offensive end going into that. And so coming out of that third quarter, responding in the fourth, being able to do what we had to do. Technically, we should have lost that game. Kemba Walker had an extremely good look at the basket, just didn't fall. Tice almost had the putback. But we were able to win. And in fact, you know how undeserving of the win, if I could use that term, I'm using it loosely, that we actually were. Anthony Davis, at the end of the game, just hung onto the net and shook his head because he knew it shouldn't have been anywhere near that. The Lakers were playing with spurts of energy. And there were moments where the team looked like they were poised to become or make that transition or flip that switch to take over the game. And before you knew it, Boston would come back and do what they did. Shots out, man, to Marcus Smart, hoping everything is okay with him. Saw the replay of his calf, and I can't imagine what it felt like, but obviously he was unable to put any weight on it. But a tremendous competitor, and this is probably the only time you hear me speak positively of the Boston Celtics. But we also want to put out those good positive vibes and positive energy. The basketball gods are watching. I wanted to get to this as well because Anthony Davis returned tonight, and for some of us, it depends on how you're looking at his gameplay, right? It depends on what you're looking for him, what you consider success for him in a game, what you consider his typical AD game. Tonight may not have been that. 27 points and 14 rebounds, though, with 6 of those rebounds being offensive, to me, made a huge difference. 2 assists and 2 steals with 0 blocks, which is very interesting that Montrezl Harrell, who we're going to talk about in a minute, had more blocks than Anthony Davis. But it worked all in our favor for the Lakers. But tonight, Anthony Davis looked much more in his form in certain areas. There were still a lot of areas where he was making some weird mistakes, and one of the biggest ones, again, is the free throw line, him going 4 of 7. We're going to focus on the positives tonight, and we're going to focus on the fact that he out-rebounded really the majority of the team by himself, and he really dominated when it came to the offensive boards. But him missing these free throws, just think about it. Had he just done his normal and made his free throws, he would have had a 30-point game tonight. He would have had a 30-point game tonight, but he missed 3. And so it's very weird, uncharacteristic, and very obvious that something mental is happening with him. That's not a strength issue. That's not a conditioning issue. That's just in your head, very much like we saw last year with KCP. KCP was having issues shooting. Tonight, KCP had another issue with shooting tonight with 0 points, 0 of 2 from 3 in 20 minutes. And so we're not really sure what's going on there, but we still believe in KCP. We know how he started off this year, how hot he was, and we still believe that he's going to return back to form. And slumps happen for everybody, from Kobe all the way down to KCP. It doesn't matter. You're going to have slumps as a player in the NBA, and it just seems like it's one of those slumps for him right now. He had it early in the season last year. And him and Anthony Davis seem to be struggling. What I liked tonight was it felt way more balanced than before. Frank Vogel shortened the rotation, kept it at a 10-man rotation. No Morris, no McKinney, no Cook, no Wes Matthews tonight. All were DNPs. And majority of those minutes, every player with the exception of Marc Gasol was in the 20-minute plus category. And we saw the effects of that in the point totals. LeBron with 21, AD with 27. Schroeder, who played big minutes down the stretch, 12 points. Kuzma, who contributed well off the bench, 11.6 rebounds. 16 points for Montrezl Harrell. And let's just go ahead and jump into Trez right now, man. The way I look at it, let me go ahead and put this back up. The way I look at it, man, is Montrez is not a big, but tonight he played like a big. He stepped up like a big, contributing in ways that you really aren't going to find in the stat sheet. He obviously scored 16 points, was our third leading scorer on the team tonight. And he had his normal around 5 or 6 rebounds tonight. He had 5 rebounds. But really, it was the energy. It was the effort. It was the frustration when he missed the defensive assignment. All of that stuff kind of bled into this push for the Lakers to kind of push through their lethargic ways tonight. And they did their thing. Could not say more positive about Harrell tonight, just in the way he was playing. He took a couple of jumpers from the baseline, was making those, was active on the boards tonight, active getting in there and disrupting. And he had some moments where he messed up. Obviously, everybody in the Lakers did, hence the game being as close as it was. But watching him play like that is the reason why he was the 6th man of the year last year. And if he can keep that consistency going, I believe you have something that's really, really scary off the bench, with Kuz going for 11, Harrell going for 16. THT had some great moments until he seemed to have hurt his hand. 23 minutes, 6 points, but he was aggressive in keeping the defense on their toes. So that was good to see as well. Let's hop into these comments. I'm dying to see what you guys are saying. Anakat Mohan. Phew. What were those last 2 minutes? Lakers couldn't make anything in silly fouls. And as always, yeah, Buck Foston. Yeah, I got what you're saying. Yeah, so tonight was even more than just the fouls. It was the turnovers tonight that were just really uncharacteristic. There were only 14 turnovers. Sometimes we can get somewhere between 15 to 20. But tonight it really felt like the Lakers were making turnovers at the wrong times. LeBron had 5 turnovers tonight, and it happens with him. We've seen him go as high as 8, 9 turnovers in a game. We've even seen him get 6 turnovers in one half. But tonight, that last play where it was trying to ice the game, essentially, just dribbling, just missing the dribble. The defender didn't have to do much except harass him. And it caused LeBron to kind of miss that shot. And that really was where the Celtics got life, was at that moment, where LeBron lost the handle on that ball. Uncharacteristic turnovers, silly fouls, and these are things that are happening and we've seen this, and they've talked about this, Vogel has talked about this, and various others, that the lack of practice time this year is showing up on the Lakers court. And so, as Kuzma said, this is like a dress rehearsal for the Lakers. They're trying to figure things out on the court. So it's almost like we're watching scrimmages for the Lakers while the other team is playing what they would essentially consider their Game 7. Remember, Marcus Smart, Walker, Tatum, Theis, all these guys have essentially played together for a while. But the Lakers is still a work in progress. And that's not to give an excuse, but to kind of just give us a good dose of reality that as good as we know this team can be and has shown, a lot of those times they're figuring it out on the court. And it showed up tonight. It showed up in those turnovers. It showed up in lack of offensive sets. It showed up in lack of offensive identity. And it's very apparent that when it gets down to crunch time, the plan just seems to be dump it into LeBron and AD. The issue with that, as we saw tonight, is there were times they triple-teamed LeBron, and there were times that they double-teamed AD. And when that happens, you need to have a backup plan, especially when the Celtics go zone. The Lakers have been known to bust up the zone before. Tonight, they had some moments where they were able to do that, but it did not feel fluid. It didn't feel like everybody was on the same page. And this is how I know that the Lakers were not on the same page tonight, was when Schroeder and LeBron were going to a timeout. It was fun. They were laughing. But you know LeBron values the handshake, right? You know he values the personalized handshake for each individual player. He has one. He does not repeat them. It's very specific to the player that he's congratulating. And him and Schroeder messed it up. They couldn't get one going, and they laughed about it. But that, for me, is just a mental side, just kind of showing a little bit that they're still trying to figure some things out. And that's stuff you learn in practice, stuff you figure out in practice, all of that. From the synergy of the pick and roll, which is really what I believe was crucial in Montrez getting his points tonight, was just the intent on getting the pick and roll or getting him into a position where he had a smaller person on him. And tonight, it didn't feel as fluid as it should have. Jack Kinnett, need another center. Absolutely. I do not believe, I said it yesterday, I got some flack for it. When we lost to Detroit. I still believe there's going to be some roster moves. Not because anybody's particularly horrible, but I just think that there's a room to just kind of put us in a position where we could really feel more secure in our contending for the championship. We don't know who that's going to be. We don't know exactly how that's going to work out. We don't know how the roster construction is going to be, but in Pelinka we trust. We have already established that as our mantra. After this offseason, picking up and upgrading this roster, who knows? You may even see the return of JaVale McGee on some level, somehow, some way. So I believe a big is in our future. I just don't know how we're going to make it work, but you better believe that this roster is going to have adjustments going into the playoffs. Anakai Mohan Gasol was unplayable this game. Thank God Trez showed up today. And once again, we talked about this. Gasol showed early in the game before in this road trip that when he's playing with Bron, there are moments of offensive, IQ of magnificence. You're watching them run plays together, passes that no other player on the court can make besides Gasol and Bron. And you've seen those moments. That's what they really want to create with Gasol and Bron. Without having practice time, though, it's really hard to get that synergy. For LeBron, he's never had a big like AD. And once he got that synergy going, it was unstoppable. But he's definitely never had a big like Gasol, where it's not about the offense and it's not about him doing anything. It's not about him scoring as much as it is about him being a facilitator. And LeBron has been so facilitator-minded that there's nobody who's really been on his level with passing, been on his level with IQ. And Gasol's not completely there, but he's very, very close. In fact, out of everybody that's on the court, for the most part, it's generally those two who have the highest IQ on offense, on offensive sets. And so I think this is going to take some time for them to kind of get that together. But once that click happens, and it happens consistently, you'll see Marc Gasol's value skyrocket, as we've seen already in certain spans, in certain spurts this game. Al Sanchez, they should have lost that game. Missing was KCP. Turnovers, yeah. I don't think anybody is disillusioned with the fact that this game really should have been a lost game. We should have lost 3 in a row, but we're going to settle in on 2 ideas. Number one, we've lost 2 already. It's good to get a win, okay? And then the flip side, we got the win against Boston, and I'll never be mad at that. I'm happy we got the win in Boston. I'm grateful that we were able to walk away, even though it was as ugly and dysfunctional as ever. We got the win. And so, yeah, KCP didn't have any points. Marc Gasol wasn't able to duplicate what he did in some other games where he was highlighted. But you had the step up of Trez. You saw THT come in early. You saw Anthony Davis return after being out in Detroit. So there were some positives to take away from it. But obviously, this was not the game that we would feel proud of as Laker fans outside of the fact that it was against Boston. AD played well for 3 quarters. Anakai Mohan. Yeah. And Chaz said something that was so important that I did not think of in our last post game when he said that we really don't know what happened to AD. We don't even know if he ever had COVID. So I've been watching closely and just trying to see what his energy is like in the running and trying to compare it to previous games last season. I've been watching just even in the bubble, trying to see if I could identify just the nonverbal cues of energy, right? And to be honest, I can't see much of a difference outside of hustle plays, free throw shooting. It just feels like AD is kind of like not there. But it was good to see him aggressive and fighting through double teams and fighting through triple teams and putting up 27 points and getting 6 offensive rebounds and 14 total rebounds tonight. It was good to see that. And I can't be mad at that. I want to see him progress from that, right? So Annika, I'm with you. I want to see our boy get 4 quarters in where he dominates. I want to see a 50 burger at some point. I want to see him, really establish that AD is back. And I believe it's going to happen. I think it's just going to be kind of a slow roll into that. And I believe when it happens, though, he'll never have to turn it off again. Do you think Morris would have done better on Tatum? Absolutely not. We have to settle in with certain things, guys. I believe that we have the two best players in the league. I believe Anthony Davis and LeBron James, regardless of how people feel about AD's play right now, I believe they are the two biggest anomalies. You have a big in Anthony Davis who can catch you off the dribble, who can shoot threes, who can get to the inside, who can play, who can be a defensive player of the year candidate, all wrapped up into one. He's a monster. There's nobody who can really handle him. The only person that stops AD is himself. He's an anomaly. You'll never find another person like that. LeBron James, on the other hand, is a big who's really a forward who can play point guard, has IQ off the chain, can shoot the three, apparently, can drive. And when you put those two together, I just don't see another dynamic duo. But when you think about other players in the league, the Kawhis, the Paul George, the Durants, the Hardens, the Kyries, the Dame Lillards, the CJ McCollums, all these. The gap is not as long or as big as it used to be. In fact, the gap is not as big as it was last season. Okay? So you're seeing a lot of these players, and Tatum is really stepping into his own. We have to stop and recognize that this kid idolized Kobe. And the way he idolized Kobe is the way that Kobe idolized Jordan. And you're watching this kid really push himself into new limits every season. And Tatum is good, not just good. Tatum is excellent. One of the best guards you're going to find in the East. And when you see that, you have to be okay and say, you know what? Like, if he gets some points, I'm okay with it. Look, even tonight, 30 points for Jason Tatum tonight on 12 of 18 shooting lets you know how efficient this kid is, right? But this is what I want to point out. Kemba Walker went 1 for 12 for 4 points. So I want you to think about just the idea of the difference in gap, right? Kemba Walker has been considered a great offensive player. His contracts have shown as such. But Jason Tatum has clearly been more consistent and clearly outplayed him. So that lets you know that the level that Jason Tatum is playing at right now is completely different than what we've seen before. And so I don't think Morris could have done anything about it. I don't think AC could have done anything. He tried his hardest. But when a player has it going, a player has it going. What you got to do, though, here's the key. The key is not about Tatum scoring 30. The key is, can you minimize your mistakes on the offensive and defensive end? Don't miss defensive rotations. Don't turn the ball over 14 times unnecessarily. What I loved in the second half is they didn't have a turnover until LeBron had that turnover towards the very end of the fourth quarter. So they got it together towards the end, and that's how we were able to recapture the lead and get on that run. But the minute that we get lazy, it becomes an issue in our offense and our defense. And when you have a team like the Celtics, Jason Tatum is going to accent on those mistakes, and that's how he puts up 30 when you allow him to do those things off of mistakes. What's up with KCP? B. Smith, my boy on Periscope. Listen, I don't know. And we didn't know last year. We don't know. We don't know really what goes on in the heads of these guys. I don't know what makes Rondo play one way in the regular season and turn it on in the playoffs. But something is happening. And this is what we know. This is not the bubble, nor is it the beginning of last season. This is a weird hybrid where you are traveling and you're not inside of the bubble in Orlando, but you're technically in a bubble because you can't come out of your hotel room. The NBA protocols are bubble-like on the road. And it's just completely different than anything you've ever had before. You're not getting your practices in. You don't feel free to roam. And so it's a mentality check. I think it's that for most people in America right now, trying to figure out what life looks like, but even more so for the NBA players, because they have not had consistency for 2 years now. Okay, for 2 years. They had halfway through a season, then it stopped, and they were off for months, and they jump into a bubble, they win a championship, then the shortest off season, and then they jump back. Now they're on the road playing every other night, playing back-to-backs, traveling, but not having fans, and some places have fans, and then you have testing happening constantly. I don't know if their mentality, if we could expect them to be in the greatest of shape mentally. This is why we have to have grace for AD and grace for KCP. They've proven themselves in the finals. They've brought us a championship back to Los Angeles. They have earned the right to have a slump. Okay. Now we can still be upset about it. I implore us to be upset about it, but we can't go at them, hard in the comments, and we can't go and be Smith. I know you don't do that. I know. We on Twitter, we don't really respond that way. But we have to be realistic and say that where they're at, it's going to take an adjustment for them. I believe by the time the playoffs come, I think everybody's going to kind of be in a rhythm, understand each other better, understand the conditions better. And who knows, there may even be a lifting of sorts, by the time that happens. We don't know that. I'm not prophesying that as Chad would do. But we'll see. Al Sanchez, we still need a tough big man. Yeah. That's still a thing. And I believe it's going to happen. Lakers free throw shooting may cost them a game in the playoffs. This is a great point. I don't think the free throw shooting is going to stay here. Okay, this is different. Like LeBron, I believe is going to be a 70 to 75% free throw shooter for the rest of his career. I don't think that's going to change. I don't think Anthony Davis is going to stay in this 4 for 7, 5 for 10 space. I think he'll be back up to his 80% again once he gets his mental right. Okay, so I'm not totally like throwing out the idea that free throws are a problem, but I'm not giving it too much weight right now because it's still early, 20 games in, 20 something games in. I think this might be 21 games. Long road trip trying to figure out this new funk and get through it. So we'll see. KCP in a real funk. Good Vogel benched him and gave more minutes to THT and Caruso. Yeah, and what I loved was at the end, we all saw the call that really should have been a no call where Jaylen Brown was going up against LeBron. LeBron kind of stood there. Jaylen Brown didn't make the shot and then like tripped on his own legs. LeBron gets called for the foul and then he goes to the free throw line and misses both free throws. What I loved seeing was KCP still being active and still being engaged and still being active on the bench, even at the times he was sitting. So it's good to see that, right? It's good to see that. I don't know what the culture is right now for them, but it's very clear that they are okay with each other having tough times and tough slumps. So as long as the team is good and they're keeping the energy positive inside that circle, I think they're going to be okay. Al Sanchez, I think KCP and THT for Drummond. It's not going to happen. Absolutely not going to happen for various reasons, but it won't happen. Nabil Murday, that ending was crazy. Great D in the fourth. Yeah, we keep forgetting, as crazy as it looks and as undisciplined as they've been, the Lakers are one of the top 5 defensive teams in the league, which is saying a lot when really their main strength is offense. So it's really great to see that the Lakers are still trying to get that D together, but it's going to take some time. So you're going to see lapses. Vogel told us this, and we got to hold on to these quotes, right? Vogel told us in the preseason it's going to be ugly some nights. He goes, and there's going to be stretches of ugly some nights because coaches know the way you get consistency on the court for the fans to see is in private. Before you put it out there in public, you're really working that thing out and you're practicing and you're coaching, you're talking through. Harrison Fagan put out something, and I have to go back and make sure I check it right, but they've had like a total of like 6 practices this season. You know how crazy that is to play 20 plus games and you've only had about 6 practices and a couple of film sessions? That doesn't work, right? And they can't. They can't right now because of protocols and the way it's going. So I give them a little bit more grace on that. But it's good to see them, pulling it up. Gasol needs to make a couple of threes at least, just 2. Then he will keep them honest. Yeah, to be honest, just 1. Just 1. Most, we can't ask too much of Gasol. I just want him to continue to shoot them. If he makes 1 out of 3, 2 out of 5, or 2 out of 6, I'm fine with that. I don't need him shooting 6 times, but you get what I'm saying. I don't need his percentage to be high. I just need him to be able to do it, right? If he does it, that's all we need. It keeps him, because he can pass too well. So that's the reason why players sag off of him. It's not so much because they don't think he's going to shoot it. They know he'll shoot it. But they're really trying to prevent him from getting a great pass to the inside. So what they do is they sag off of him until he starts making threes. And when he makes a 3, they'll still sag off a little bit, but they're not looking for the passing lane. And that's where you see Mark's offensive IQ go through the roof, is when he's able to keep that defense honest and then be able to get those passes into the paint. Jay Prince on Periscope. Wes, was tonight's rotation switch with CHD taking Wes's minutes maybe a sign of things to come? No, I think it was an opportunity. I think they're going to play around with the rotation some more in probably the second half of this season. But THT, I mean, listen, he really is a work in progress. I love him, but he is nowhere near ready to be playing significant playoff minutes. He's not. He had, I mean, there was a play tonight where LeBron literally was looking at him and doing this. It was almost J.R. Smith-like because he's still young and he's still learning and he's still trying to figure out how to not commit offensive fouls or not, or not overlook an open shooter who's the captain of the team. The leader of your team is wide open. And you just pull up a 3. This is not the G League. And those kind of things have to be worked out because that is not, it's not even about these lapses of judgment. It's just you don't know yet. So I think a lot of tonight was a learning curve and a lot of opportunity for him to learn. Wes was very active with him tonight. If you saw some moments where he was talking to him on the bench, there was moments where Wes was just talking to LeBron. So Wes seemed fine with sitting tonight for whatever reason. But this team is going to be really built off of their chemistry with each other. If they keep their chemistry good, they're going to be a dangerous team. So as long as the rotations can work and their chemistry doesn't get messed up by the rotations, they're going to be fine. THT should play over West. Listen, guys, listen. I get you. We have ups and downs. You know, THT had 6 points tonight. So we go, yay. But if that was Kuz giving you 6 points, you'd be like, man, trade him. So we have to figure out what we're asking here, because THT has tremendous talent. Nobody can get to the cup like this kid. His wingspan is dangerous, and it really makes him a danger on defense as well. Because I think tonight, what did he have? Tonight he had, he had 2 steals, 2 assists, 4 rebounds, 6 points. He did great. He also had 5 personal fouls. So you got to kind of just think about that. Like, when we put him on the court, it's very possible he could put us in the penalty. It's the same thing with Gasol. It's one of the reasons why they keep him off the court in a lot of instances. If you're close to the penalty, why would you put a foul-prone player out there? But most of those fouls are because he's still learning how to play defense, learning how to be disciplined and active with his hands. I think, as somebody said, I think KCP said it in an interview, they believe that next year THT is going to be a starter. I don't think this year is the year for that. I think this year you put him in spurts, let him get his legs going, let him figure things out, learn, and then throw him in that starting lineup next year. But I do not think this year is going to be the year where you're going to see the breakout of THT. He's going to have moments that are going to be great, and he's going to have moments that are going to be ugly, and has LeBron doing the JR thing, okay? Al Sanchez, Matthews would have been better on Tatum. I don't know. Matthews has moments where he's extremely engaged on the defensive end, and I love it. But there are moments where he really gets lost in the rotations, and I think that's just because of lack of practice. Milwaukee's defensive system with Budenholzer is completely different than Vogel's, and I think that he had a better identity in that Milwaukee defense. It's a lot more team trusting here, where they really do say, hey, listen, if you see the open shooter, I know you may have a man open, but you got to trust that your man's going to do that, or we do want you to play up close on a player and trust that you're going to have recovery on the back end. And so I don't know if that's something that he's got accustomed to yet, but he has some moments where he really misses on D. But listen, what we have learned is that when he gets hot, he gets hot, yo. He gets hot. When he gets his 3 going, he's unstoppable. So that to me is worth him still getting some minutes. Imagine losing to the Celtics tonight. Sloppy W, but we got it. Freddie Martinez. I could not agree more. It would have been a bad Sunday at church for me tomorrow if I had to walk in there, man, and we had lost to the Boston Celtics. No minutes for Wes and Keith today. Theme going forward. Now I kept my hand. No. Vogel's made it very, very clear. He is going to play with these rotations until he sees certain things. He's looking for trends. And so there's, it's been highlighted multiple times. There are certain rotations that are just blasphemous good. I mean, incredibly good. But he doesn't play them all the time, right? There's a thing that we call like the death lineup or the Bronze Star lineup, right? But like where it's like these certain players and they get together, their plus minuses through the roof. Their offensive net rating is crazy. Their defensive net rating is crazy, and they're just amazing. But Vogel doesn't abuse that. He's still looking for other lineups that could potentially work. These are new players that he doesn't have the opportunity of practices to figure out who works. And so you're going to see a lot of these games where there's DNPs and you're like, they're perfectly fine. But he has to figure some things out. How does Caruso... There was a moment tonight where Caruso, THT, and Schroeder were all on the court together. Okay, these are all guards that have been known to handle the ball or work better in different duos. Of course, Caruso with LeBron, Schroeder with Trez, and he's mixing it up and he's figuring some things out. I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll see what's going to happen. Pablo Ornelas, get rid of Gasol already. 1.1 rebound. Listen, I mean, he did better than KCP tonight. KCP had 0 points. KCP had as many turnovers as he had rebounds. So it's players are going to have slumps. We once again we are known as fans to want to get rid of players immediately. We've done it. We wanted to do it with Rondo. Y'all remember there was like, please don't play Rondo. Please don't ever play Rondo. And by the end of the NBA Finals, Rondo was the reason why we won. Rondo and KCP, who we also were trying to get rid of when he was slumping in the beginning of the season. Just get rid of him. Let's trade him, man. I'm done with him. I'm tired. We're all allowed to vent that. But I just want to just bring us back to reality again and remind us that every time we get mad and we want to throw away the front office, they come through. We want to throw away the lineup from last year. They came through. Let's just stick with the trend of let's trust it even in the bad times, and let's see if they can figure it out. Because if they can figure out that Magic and Pelinka situation, and if they can figure out KCP going through the longest slump ever, if they can figure all that out, then they can figure out AD shooting slump, Marc Gasol trying to fit into an offense, and even fighting through coronavirus, traveling through during a bubble without practices. They'll figure it out. All Black Everything. What's up, D? My boy, in case you guys don't know, All Black Everything has officially joined the Showtime Forum squad. And it's so good to have him on the squad. We have a lot of big things coming up, and I can't wait to utilize him in some ways. Can't wait for you guys to see that. Kyle Davis, AD, my boy, KD. AD making it easy for defenders when he has the advantage by not going to the rack. Absolutely. The mismatch tonight was obvious. Marc Gasol had Theis, and there was nobody else on the Celtics even remotely close that could cover AD. Theis really couldn't do it either. That's why they put him on Gasol. AD should have had his way tonight. And for the most part, he tried. What they did that was different, was instead of trying to get they didn't have a big that can match up with him. They would just double him and sometimes triple him. And it was very frustrating for AD. And for someone who's in a mental space trying to get themselves together, you better believe Brad Stevens and that coaching staff made it a point to frustrate AD, knowing that he's having issues just in the mental section. So Ariel Marcelli, I don't like Harrell as a closer. He can't defend the pick and roll. Kuz should be closing. Kuz is great. He's been great with rebounding as of late, and of course he scored great tonight and was active from the 3-point line. He shot 7 times, but he made 3, and I'm with it. But Harrell had 16 points. He was energy off the bench. He may not be a big, but he does more. On a team that's lethargic, energy means more than size. I know, it may not be as effective, but it means more. Because when there's no energy and there's size, it's a waste of time. But if you have energy and you lack the size, we've watched Trez out. Listen, he had 3 blocks tonight. He had 3 more blocks than AD. AD had 0 tonight. Okay? When you see that and you go, he may not be a closer, and he may not be able to defend the pick and roll as well, but he was active tonight and a much better defender than what he's been given credit for. Obviously giving 3 blocks and harassing people. And what I love about Trez was nobody else on the court had this issue but him. If he missed an assignment or if somebody scored on him, he got frustrated with himself. That's what you want. That's the kind of stuff that Caruso did. That's the kind of stuff that Avery Bradley did. That's the kind of stuff that keeps that energy on the defensive intensity going. And that means more on a road trip where people are ready to go home and see their wife and see their kids. They're ready to go. But they can't because they're still on the road. Okay? When you need the energy going, Montrez supplies that, and I think that's the reason why that was going on. Vogel tells the Lakers reporter, Lakers experiment with the 9-man rotation tonight. Yeah, he says a 9-man rotation. Technically, he had 10. No, I'm sorry. No, he's right. He did have 9. I'm sorry, I miscounted that. He did have 9. That makes sense. And I think he's going to be doing this a lot. He's going to be experimenting a lot. I'm not mad at it. I can't be this early in the season, right? I'd rather him figure it out now than we get to the playoffs and figure out that we've missed some opportunities, right? Get those opportunities figured out now. B. Smith, we need a big. Yeah. I think there's no doubt we're going to keep saying that. That's going to be we're going to keep saying the same thing, but you're not going to see anything happen until closer to the deadline. The Lakers really can't afford to trade much right now, okay? They really can't. What they really need to do is get a big on a buyout, and the bigs are going to be bought out. It's going to happen, okay? What we know is they don't have to be that great. They could be a Robin Lopez, and we could actually just be better with that. So I think we're going to figure it out. I know Pelinka's going to get it. So obviously we're going to keep talking about it. I'm not telling you guys to stop mentioning it. But it's just not going to be addressed anytime soon. So Kuzma has really been settling into his role. Jason Jeter on Periscope. I can't say it enough. This is another player that we were ready to throw away. It just takes time to figure it out. And guess what? Just guess what? He's going to morph into something different when it's necessary. But tonight, he shot the 3 as well as you could ask him to shoot, made 3 tonight. And he was active on the board, 6 rebounds. What did I say? I'm looking for I would love him to average a double-double, but I want him active on the boards. Give me 6, 8, 9, 10 rebounds, and give me 10 to 12, 13, 14, 15 points. Give me that, and I'm good. If him and Trez are able to rebound and score on that level in a double-double category, then everything else is icing on the cake. Then THT and Caruso and Wes Matthews and Morris, all those guys adding the extras just makes the bench that much more incredible. But tonight, they did their thing. 11 and 16 for Kuzma and Harrell, respectively. 6 rebounds for Kuz, 5 rebounds for Harrell, and 3 of those being offensive. So that, to me, is great bench production. Doing that in 23 minutes for Kuz is great. Hero played a little bit longer, obviously, because he had the energy at 30 minutes. I'm with it. And I love Kuzma settling into that. We don't want you scoring all the time. Be active when it's open. Make your threes when you're passed when they're passed to you. But outside of that, do the dirty work in the paint and get down the court. Grab the rebound, give it up, and get down the court. Winston Mobile Labs, good to see you, my brother. Great win. Love beating this team. Way to hold on for the win. Absolutely. Jason J, this better be my brother. Oh no, this can't be my bro because he says Celtics fan. Bro, GG. But as a Celtics fan, I hate Kemba. JT and JB literally carry, and all they ask is for Kemba to not suck to win. Yeah, but I mean, it was worth the experiment. The Celtics have always had an issue at the point guard category. From Isaiah Thomas is when I think they were they had the greatest offensive efficiency with a point guard. They've had Kyrie. There was obviously issues there, and now you have Kemba, and so they're not getting from it what they need. I think it's a detriment to Tatum and to Brown not to have a point guard. But as far as a Lakers fan, I hope they never get a point guard. I hope every point guard they get is the worst point guard ever. I hope every game that we play them, Kemba Walker scores 4 points. That's what I hope. Leonard Buchanan, crazy ending, but anytime we beat Boston, it's a great day. Need I say more? All black everything. Okay, this is going on with the quote. I can't believe I missed this. We'll continue to evaluate what we've got to do to our rotations to get W's. Okay, guys, listen. Coaching is different in this season, okay? The Lakers had, for the most part, the biggest turnover of any team. And I'm talking about like turnover of players that were integral to us winning. Dwight, JaVale, Rondo, Bradley. Like, these are 4 people who all played significant minutes and established our identity defensively, established our identity offensively in a lot of different areas. And so they're gone. So the Lakers have had to revamp everything on the fly, shortened season without practices. So yeah, they're gonna have to evaluate during these games. There's no other time to do it. Do you think the Lakers are out of sync? They seem to be, and they should be. They should be. For the Lakers, I'll put it this way: if the Lakers were clicking on all cylinders right now, I wouldn't trust it come playoffs. I need to see them struggle to figure it out. I need to know that they've worked through the issues to know where their weaknesses are and how to accent their strengths. That's what they're doing in front of us tonight. And for them to do it and still win. Listen, a lot of our losses, right? We've lost 5 times. Is it 5 times or 6 times? A lot of our losses have been 6 losses. A lot of our losses have been at the hands of trying to figure out what in the world we're doing. So oftentimes we'll come out and we'll play a certain way and we'll grab a great lead, and then we'll end up losing that lead because experimentation's happening in all these quarters. For a fan, we hate it because we know it works. But the issue is that when you only have a couple of things that work, when the other team scouts you, they know how to set you down. They know how to get you out the way. So what you have to do is you have to have as many different perspectives of offense, as many combinations as you can put together that can counteract any other chess play that the other team does. So that's why you saw in the other game against Philly that the only time Marc Gasol played was when Joel Embiid was in the game. That was a chess move. Frank Vogel said, "I'm only going to play Gasol when Embiid is in there." Okay. Now that to us that seems like common sense, but he hasn't done that with any other big. It's a chess play for him, and that makes a difference, right? That makes a difference in how you utilize that, because that's a possibility of a finals matchup. If you can make it there and they can make it there, then okay, I have a big, because Marc Gasol actually played decent defense on Joel Embiid. I have a big who can do that. I'm going to the trade deadline. I need to get a backup that can handle that, so then I can play with my rotation some more, if that makes sense. Shout out James White. Shout out to Tatum for wearing the purple armband. We're going to steal him from Boston eventually. It would be great, but man, I mean, there would be no better story to me than watching Tatum come over and become a Laker and following in one of his mentor steps in Kobe Bryant. But I would be crazy if I thought that would happen. Now, let me be honest. When Mitch Kupchak found a way to get Kwame Brown out and Pau Gasol in, I thought Jesus was coming back in 35 minutes after that thing got announced. But weirder things have happened. Hence the Rams tonight. Winston Mobile Labs. AC made a great defensive play at the end, knocking the ball away. Yeah, he just does these things where he gets his hand in the passing lanes, and it makes all the difference in the world. LA has a problem with big wings. Told y'all Jaylen Brown was good. That's the only Celtic love out of me. I think Jalen's cool. My preference, to be honest, though, if you were to give me a choice between Tatum and Brown, I'm taking Tatum 9 days out the week. I'm telling you, that dude is incredible to me. But you are true. We do need big wings. And not so much big wings. Frank Vogel trusts to have bigs in the center that you can flush up. So basically, you can have a smaller guard that plays tight defense, which Avery Bradley was known to do. You play tight defense and you push those players off the perimeter into the bigs and trust that the Anthony Davises and last year the Dwights and the JaVales would cover you up and be able to cover those mistakes. He doesn't have that this year. So I think it's going to be much more about big men more than big wings. Tan Marino, 13, my boy Justin, who you're going to see doing post-game very, very soon, so y'all get ready. AD was minus 10, the lowest by far on the team. I know his stats were good, but you're right. He just looks off. I know we're hoping he's had just had a few off nights, and one night could kick him back into rhythm, but this is starting to look like something that could take some time for him to sort through. Hopefully I'm wrong. No, I don't think he's going to be right until playoffs. I think he's going to have great stretches and spurts, but I don't expect to see consistency out of him until the playoffs. I think this is a lot for him. This is a lot for him. B. Smith, do you think we sign Ariza? Absolutely not. Guard is not our issue as of right now. Big is our issue. And Ariza, the Rams trying to steal the headlines. Jonathan Watson, yeah. We'll see how that goes. I'm a Raider fan, just so you know. I don't know if you guys can see what's behind me here, but that's God bless LA, but I saw Jeff Hostetler play. That's how far back I go. Always good to defeat the green team. Absolutely. Jason Jeter, which Vogel can give LeBron a game off and go deep to the bench? McKinney, for example. I'm starting to wonder because AD has already had he's already missed a game out of the 3 back-to-backs we've had. He's always missed at least one of the back-to-back games. That feels much more by design than anything else. Barring this last one where he really did have, I think it was a bruised quad. But I think for the most part, I think LeBron is kind of calling when he wants to sit. And it doesn't feel like he has any signs of slowing in regards to that. 21 points tonight, 7 assists, a block, and 5 turnovers. So he seems to have the energy, but it just seems like he hasn't had the offensive click with his counterparts yet. Blake St. Clair, Gasol's slump has been season-long so far. Yeah, the season-long 20 games. To be honest, you could play more games in the first 3 rounds of the playoffs, like the Nuggets. So I don't put too much into it right now. And once again, what you consider a slump, I don't consider a slump. If he scored 0 points for the rest of the season, I don't really care about that. What I care about is his offensive IQ and being able to work together with LeBron and give LeBron easy baskets. I think to me, it's just his facilitation by itself is worth replays. It's worth signing. But to cover that up, right? You sacrifice the defensive end, you sacrifice the scoring. You have enough offensive talent on the floor. You have AD, LeBron, Schroeder, and KCP. All of these guys who are able to shoot threes, all of these guys who are able to score, and on any given night, any of those guys can go 20 plus. You don't need Gasol to score. What you do need him to do is to be the synergy glue between all 4 shooters and to be able to provide some sort of synergy between those guys so that they can all get their shots. And I think that is a point, right, to sign Schroeder and to get Gasol is to get the ball out of LeBron's hands as often as possible when he needs a rest on the court. Probably one of the reasons why he hasn't taken a game off. But yeah, I mean, most people look at Gasol and be like, he's horrible. I'm not looking at it that way at all. KCP will be fine. I believe the same thing. People need to relax with Gasol. He is fine. If we don't get another big, having AD playing the 5. I will feel more comfortable with what you just said, Jason, when AD gets back to form. When I see AD back to form, then I'll feel better. And postseason is the key, yeah. Trez just needs to play at power forward. Gets exposed as small ball 5. Well, yeah, I don't think anybody ever looked at Trez and was like, man, he's going to be the answer at the big. No, that's not. What Trez is being asked to do wasn't what he signed up for. Okay? When he played with the Clippers, they essentially had what's the guy we used to have? I can't remember his name. Zubac. They essentially had that, and he was able to kind of play off that off the bench. But for the most part, man, he's just really there for pick and roll offense to provide energy and to rebound as often as possible. Like, you have to, like, kind of settle in with what guys are asked to do. Caruso, defend primarily, secondarily be able to keep the offense going and shoot. Apparently now shoot threes. KCP, hit your open corner threes, what you're known for. Play defense on the perimeter on quick guards. That's what you're in there for. LeBron, facilitate, play point guard, get people active, take over in the fourth. Anthony Davis, dominate the paint, be AD. We want you to be the star. We want you to have the passing of the baton from LeBron. Wesley Matthews, we want you to shoot threes and defend when you come off the bench. Markieff Morris, give us size, give us rebounding, and hit open threes when they're passed to you. See, everybody has an identity. What you're looking for is the identity. Don't look for them to give you all the stats. None of these players are signed for that with the exception of AD and LeBron. They're just not going to do that, right? And so when you look at Trez and you look at a night like tonight where he had 16 points and was giving you rebounds, points, and energy, you can't go back and go, well, he was just too small against the centers. Well, that's not what we signed him for. We did not sign him to play the center. It's what Vogel has to experiment with, lacking a big that we currently have right now. We would have won by 20 if we didn't wear the purple unis with the black stripes. Oh, man, James, you were crazy, bro. They just have to play Trez with AD and Mark to help get him in the pick and roll. Winston, that's perfect. That's exactly what I'm saying. You get the way to stretch out the floor, get somebody who's facilitating. Mark can facilitate, draw. Let me just give you an idea of what it should look like. If AD is on and playing the way he normally plays, then that means that anywhere he's on the floor, they have to account at least 4 sets of eyes, or 2 sets of eyes, should I say. 4 eyes on him. 4 eyeballs got to be on him at all time, ready for the double team. If you have Marc Gasol standing at the high key, which is where he was thriving in Toronto, then that means that whoever's playing the big, which would have been Theis tonight, has to come out and defend Marc Gasol. If you have a Trez who's sitting down there, Trez can roam, Trez can get rebounds and the whole nine. And you're setting up a table for possibilities, okay? That's what you need. And I think that's where you're going to see the best of this team. But once again, this team has not played together very long, okay? They haven't had practices. Their film sessions are on Zoom. This is not the normal team. So you can't put last year's expectations on this team in regards to synergy, in regards to chemistry, in regards to fluidity with the offense and defense. It's going to take some games. We're looking like game 65, 70 before you really see them going, oh, okay, this is what we're looking at, okay? And when we add another big. Zankerstein, I think Harrell and Morris should be split. Harrell and AD or Harrell and Morris should play against small ball. I don't hate that at all. Schroeder actually is a good defensive player. That's true. He just needs to attack and eliminate his hesitation against anyone who is slower than him. Let me tell you a play that we saw tonight that I don't have the replay for it. Let me tell you what I saw. There was a moment towards the end where Schroeder got that and one high off the glass. He was trying to dribble penetrate and he got stuck. Pass it out to LeBron. He told LeBron, give it back to me. Braun gave it up because Schroeder saw Theis and saw barbecue chicken in his eyes. When he saw that, he went directly towards it. This is what I loved about that play. It was late. Okay. Schroeder had not been super great. Okay. He had not been great offensively. And Braun was trying to do what he normally does and get it going. Braun trusted Schroeder. Schroeder was aggressive and had it. And not only did he get the bucket off the glass, he got the and one. That's the kind of things that Braun was going to look at and go, okay, I can trust that, right? And that's the kind of stuff Schroeder can go, okay, I can be trusted. And he won't hesitate as much in these late game situations. So I loved watching that. That's something that you would normally see in a scrimmage during practice. And they go, okay, you can do that. But tonight you saw that happen real time in live action. And you're going, okay, so now there's not a struggle about who's going to shoot the ball. This is what's going to happen. Okay, this is good. Kevin Angelis, we lost 5. Scratch that. We did lose 6. I think that was last. Yeah, we lost 6. Yeah. All Black everything. 1. Braun on the short rotation tonight. As professionals, you always have to stay ready when your number is called. We're here for one reason, and that's to win a championship. That's what it is. Now, the last time Braun said this was last year. He said, we're here to win a championship. That's it. Said it when we got in the bubble. We're in this bubble to win a championship. When I hear that championship talk, then I know the GOAT he's riling up, man. Successful road trip, 5-2, no worries. Leonard Buchanan. Listen, we don't know what's going to happen in Atlanta. I think it's a possible loss, but we'll see. We'll see how they kind of bounce out of this one. Zankerstein, I was laughing on old Boston people in media trying to downplay the Lakers, saying they should trade everything for Beal. Nope, they should have either a big wing or another center. That's it. Listen, we had a great conversation. I'm getting ready to wrap up. We had a great conversation in the Slack tonight or the other day, and I really do think my counterparts, my Slack colleagues, my brothers from another mother, they've lost their mind. I think Beal is a tremendous player. I wouldn't say he's once in a generation, but boy, oh boy, I just can't think of anybody who's given up more for the city of Washington or for any NBA town without getting the results that it deserves. That kid is insane at what he does. But if you're asking me if I would give up 4 and 5 players for one player, I couldn't do it. Now, I'm sure you guys will disagree in the chat. Obviously, my brothers don't agree with me in Slack. But there's just no way I want to become the Brooklyn Nets of the West. I don't want to become that, where we're so offensive minded that we score 145 points but lose by 100. We lose 147. I don't want to become that, right? I want our depth to be the thing that speaks. I want us to trust the players that we got. Maybe add a big, not maybe, definitely add a big, and let it go, man. Let it rip from there. And trust that our identity of team chemistry matters. That's just me. We did it for AD, Showtime Forum. No. We did not do it for AD. We did not do that for AD. We did it for AD and LeBron. Now, this is the difference. This is the difference here, okay? You knew that when you got AD and Bron, you were going to be able to attract more people, okay? You had an offseason to do that. You don't have an offseason to do that. You do that in the middle of now. You do it now. You ain't going to be able to get no players on a buyout like that. You're going to get a bunch of old... It's not going to be like you had last year. We got lucky. When we signed AD and we were able to get Avery Bradley and Rondo and we were able to get Danny Green and piece all these people together, we had an offseason to do that. That's where it makes sense. Now, if you were telling me this was the offseason, I say go for it, man. But you don't do it in the middle of the season. You can't correct that, and then you can do for that. Rosters are set by that point, okay? I want Beal. I want him. I want him bad. But I'm not, in the middle of the season, going to empty out my entire roster to try to get another player when offense is really not your issue. Offense is not your issue. Defense is your issue. And I love Beal, but we need a big. Let me just be honest. I believe Bron and AD on their best days can carry a team to a championship. I watch them do it. So I trust that. I don't necessarily need a third player. What I have seen is that I've seen Durant have a duo and not make it and need a third player. I've seen Kyrie only do it with Bron and apparently needs a third player. And I've seen James Harden have a second player and not be able to do it, and he needs a third player. Those guys need to be together. But Anthony Davis and LeBron James are good by themselves. I love Beal. Let me just don't get me wrong. If we could get Beal and trade McKinney, Cook, and Kostas Antetokounmpo and get him, I'd be like, let's go for it. But that's not reality, right? That's not reality. Oh my God. I must have missed all of Gasol's assists tonight. Oh no, wait. No, he's not going to have it. And I've said it before, Blake. He's not going to have that yet because they have had 6 practices for 20-something games. You're not going to find offensive identity when you have 2 primary ball handlers and none of you guys have played together before. What worked for him in Toronto is that you had Kyle Lowry and, obviously you had other players there, but none of them were like alphas like that, right? You have 2 ball dominant guards and Dennis Schroeder and LeBron, and then you have a dominant big in AD. It takes a minute to figure out how you're going to get those assists out there. But he's going to do it. Better believe it. Otherwise, the Lakers wouldn't have put a whole highlight reel together of his first 3 and 4 games of him doing insane passes. That's what he's known for. That's what you have to look out for. Okay. Only take Beal if quality big comes with him. I don't think you can afford both. These are good problems we have now. I remember trying to convince myself that Radmanovich was good. Not Radmanovich. Didn't he lie about breaking his arm or something like that and got in trouble? I agree. Preach, brother. Beal will cost too many assets. I prefer Wizards to buy out Robin Lopez. Okay, Chris, now we're talking, baby. Now we're talking. Listen, if you're talking about what I want from the Wizards, yeah, okay. I would love to have Bradley Beal, but not at the expense of 4 of my players and future draft picks, which we really don't have. If you're telling me, though, that you're going to buy out Robin Lopez and we can add him on the low, and I get to keep all the players that I have, plus Bron and AD and Schroeder and the 6th man of the year. Yeah, man, give me that. I'll take that. Let Robin get in there and muck it up. Let him go in there and do what he got to do. Like, let him do that. Let him start for all I care. I could care less about all that. What I really want is I don't want to add a third offensive player. I want to make our depth complete, if that makes sense. James White, we could trade 5 players for Beal. Then side, Xavier Henry, son, Earl Clark. Bro, James, why are you bringing up these people, man? Don't take us back to the Stone Ages again. Please don't. LeBron by himself actually carried that 2018 Cavs team by himself. You ain't lying. That's the truth. We saw what LeBron was like by himself. Don't overhype him too much. I said LeBron and AD. I don't know how we're missing that. Ronnie Turioff. Okay, quick story as I get ready to end. It's a quick story. One of my good friends was doing a charity event. He said, let's do a tournament. It was like a church tournament. You guys know I'm a church kid. It's like a church tournament. So it was all these churches getting their pastors and their ministers and stuff out. So I had my homeboy was the only person who was like, he had just started a church, and it was like a whole bunch of young people. It was like a young church. He comes into the tournament, and his center is Ronnie Turioff. I had to stick Ronnie Turioff in the first game of the tournament for my church. On the very first play, the man dunked on me. I asked the coach, sub me out, and that was the end of my time. You ain't gonna do that to me too many times. I'm out. Ronnie Turioff, man, he was another energy guy, but God bless his heart. I don't even know what he's doing right now. Lopez will be a nice compliment to AD, rebound, block shots, even shoot a little from 3. I just mean that he's a key part of it. As long as AD and him have chemistry, that's a lot, because chemistry is key, and big threes are not that effective. You are very true with that. And with that, guys, as we get ready to close, I want to just point out we have one more game on this road trip as we head to Atlanta to see our boy Rondo, who we have not seen since he left. Of course, it's all love for him, and we have no problems with Rondo, although we're sure he's going to try to get into the heads and be feisty, and he may even cause a fight or two. But that's the guy that we've known and the guy that we trust, right? He's the one who got us that championship, and we cannot be mad about it. But this is going to be a good test for the rotations in the next game, because you're dealing with Trae Young, who is a very crafty guard. I'm using the word Steph Curry, obviously not Steph, but very quick, can pull a 3, quick pull up, is able to dribble, and his handles are insane, and even get to the cup and get you into foul trouble, which is what Trae has been known to do. So it's going to be good to see how we go up against them. But for me, it's going to be good to know that once they leave there, once they're done with the road trip on Monday, they don't play again till Thursday. And I think it's going to be much needed rest for the team. So I'm excited to see how they end. If they end strong, something that did happen was DeAndre Hunter for the Hawks is going to be gone, who was their second leading scorer. He's going to be missing the actual Laker game. So we'll see how they're going to adjust to that. But we'll see. The Atlanta's at the top of their division at 10-9, and we'll see. We'll see how it's going to go. Hopefully, the Lakers can reverse the back-to-back loss and get a back-to-back win and start getting themselves together chemistry-wise. Man, listen, I appreciate all y'all. I am so grateful that you guys have gotten on with us tonight. We have some great changes that are getting ready to come up in the upcoming months. It's just going to be good. You're going to see some new faces, going to be some new looks to the stream, and the whole nine. But I promise you it'll be the same Showtime Forum feel, and obviously the same Laker content. So if you have not followed us, make sure you follow us on all platforms, including the one that you're on right now, Twitter, Periscope, Instagram, hey, even Facebook for all the old people. We're there for you too. And of course, you can always visit ShowtimeForum.com if you want to get some of our great writing by our own Justin Stover and Esteban Gonzalez and others. So until I see you guys again on the next one in Monday in Atlanta, just remember, Mamba out, but not for